Chinese New Year celebrations are happening in Chinatown next Saturday, and while there'll be a lot of traditional performances, there's some more contemporary things to enjoy. Local group The Soul Council will be performing house, hip-hop and funky styles like whacking and locking. If you don't know what that is, you will find out very soon. Penelope Shum is the founder of The Soul Council. She dropped in for a chat about her biggest passion, dance.
So we've been invited back again this year to perform at the Chinatown Street Party, and this piece is very high energy. It's a little bit cheeky. We've sort of blended a slightly older piece into a new piece, and it's a mixture of jazz music, house music, J-pop, and the piece itself is very high energy. It's a mixture of funk styles and house dance and hip-hop, and yeah, I think it's a real crowd pleaser.
Yeah, cool.
It's hard for us to smile as we're doing it, so yeah.
So where will you guys be? Are you guys going to be performing on the street?
What they're doing is they're blocking off the entire street, so all of Guja Street's blocked off, and then we've got Moonta Street as well, and the staging is going to be set up just at the Guja Street end of Moonta Street. So there's a smaller stage for the day portion of the performances, and then for the night schedule there's another larger stage that's all attached, and so they're just putting us on the night stage. So we're going to be performing at about 9:20, we've been told, give or take a few minutes.
Are you drawing on any traditional Chinese elements into the dance?
No, not for us. There's more traditional performances earlier on in the day, in the first half of the day, but for us we're just bringing what we normally, well, not what we normally bring, but yeah, it's a more contemporary piece.
Yeah, right. So how did you go about creating the piece?
So the piece that we're performing at Chinese New Year, it is very much my choreography. It's a new piece blended with an old piece. So the old piece was in part a collaboration with the two dancers that it was created with. They made up the introduction, and then we're actually under quite a lot of pressure to get it finished, ready for a performance, because I'd been away and come back and we only had a limited amount of time. And so it really was just reading the music and going with what was there, and you know what was effective and what was appropriate, because it was for a community celebration. And then with this new sort of blending together, again, it's still a lot of it is my choreography, but it's nice to work with a new group of dancers and then have different influences or different suggestions on, okay, how are we going to transition from, you know, A to B and then B to C, and you know, just to have that input and different perspective, which is always refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, sort of workshopping it as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What sort of genres of dance?
So in the piece that we're doing for Chinese New Year, we have more commercial, like new style hip-hop. We have locking. We have whacking. We have some breaking. We also have house. So in this piece, they're all quite distinct. Like, they're not really a fusion of this and that sort of muddled up together. It's still quite like easily identifiable as, okay, that's a locking section and that's a house section. And but yeah, it's also because the music just lends itself well to support all of those styles within one piece.
Yeah, cool. So not everyone would know what whacking and locking is. Can you tell me a bit more about those?
So both of those are actually styles that developed along the west coast of the United States. So locking really kind of developed out of an area of Los Angeles called Watts. It developed in the 70s. Like a lot of these dances, it grew out of party dances or social dances. So, for example, the twist is a party dance. The Running Man is a party dance, not from the same era, but those quite simple steps that then evolved and people took them on. And it's really an evolution out of music. So I had one teacher who really sort of brought it to its essential one time, and he was saying that the music creates the feeling creates the dance. And that's always stayed with me, because it's true, because music changes and feelings that you get from it change. And so I think without that music underneath, we wouldn't have those dances. So that's a little bit about locking. With whacking, it's the disco era dance. So just like disco, it's very fabulous. It's very dramatic, and stylistically, to whack means to strike with force. So it's a lot of arm movements, posing, but done rhythmically to the music. So yeah, it's arm coordination is very necessary, otherwise you knock yourself out. So.
Well, I definitely couldn't dance because I just realised that I'd knock myself out all the time. You actually have learnt from some of the best on those particular styles in the US itself. Can you tell me a bit about that and what you've taken from that experience and brought over here?
So I go away pretty much every year if I can afford it. And I like to travel for professional development, and going to the US, obviously going to the origin of these dances is a great experience because it's more than just learning steps. Like what I find that through my career path and through my own studies and just my interest and my love is that I'm part of a culture. You know, it's not just going to class and learning steps. And so going to the US, there's a different energy, firstly, and you just have this access to information. People who were either there when these dances were being created or, you know, new generation dancers who have a different energy to give it. So it's just about having that opportunity for that direct dialogue, and just being able to train nonstop is always great. You know, you just make so much progress and you learn so much about yourself. But also for me, I like to go away. I like to learn wherever I can, whether it's over in the US or in Europe or throughout Asia, all these experiences and being able to bring them back to Adelaide, because I just think that Adelaide is a really great incubator of amazing people. There's something, I don't know, there's something in the water. But it's really important for me to, as someone who's pursuing this career path and trying to master my craft and really hone my skills, that it gets easier for the next generation of people coming up underneath me so that they have greater access to it.
And when did you realise that you didn't want to just be a dancer but also a teacher?
I graduated from WAPA, which is an amazing institution, but I was there doing a BA, and that's, you know, purely practical, although we did do dance teaching methods, which was incredibly valuable. And so I think it was still one of those things that I fell into. In terms of enjoying it, I think I didn't have a moment, one single moment, but I just recognised in real terms that the information I had to share or the way that I had to share it was useful to people. I'm a bit of a dance nerd. Like I study, I take notes, and like we've been talking about travelling, and so sometimes it's just that thing of you're so passionate that you have to talk about it or you want to talk about it. Or one of the reasons I started teaching house dancing in Adelaide is because this was something new for me, you know, several years back, and I came home and I was just like, I want people to play with. Like, you know, there's no one else doing it. There is no one else teaching it here in Adelaide, but now we're growing this small community of dancers who I can see enjoy it just as much as I do.
And of course you are the founder of the Soul Council. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and what your motto is and what you're hoping to achieve?
The Soul Council is my baby. It's sort of like the epicenter of a Venn diagram of my experiences, and I guess that point is really the starting point for this next chapter of me as my own solo brand in dance. Because I've been part of several groups leading up to now, and they've all, you know, taught me wonderful lessons, and so this is kind of my time to expand into what I know, how I want to do it. Our motto is creation, information, inspiration, which is to do with the way in which we want to carry ourselves through all the services that we have. So we're a floating dance studio, so we offer weekly classes, we do performances, whether it's community or if it's corporate, or there's we've done a few little short dance films as a group, as you know, and the cast changes depending on who's around. Running workshops, but inside of creation, information, inspiration, it is about, you know, creating unique experiences for our students or our audiences and supporting genuine information and original sources and letting that like combination of things inspire people so that they go out with the same sort of integrity and energy to create more and, you know, inform more and, yeah, so.
And is there anything that you want to get out of 2016?
I've got my eye set on doing a mentorship in Europe with an amazing artist over there called Raheem Rachiki. He was actually the assistant choreographer on Michael Jackson's This Is It tour, and he's in the past danced and choreographed for Madonna, so, you know, he knows a thing or two. I would love to go over there and be mentored by him, which is something that I'm planning out at the moment, just to look at bringing together more of the pieces of my puzzle into really sort of setting down my foundations for me to take the next few steps with the Soul Council, because eventually I would love to build a company out of what the Soul Council already represents, and, you know, and a different style of company. So there's a lot of urban dance going on, and it's contemporary dance, and I think, you know, I exist somewhere in the middle there, and that's the place that I'd like to work from. So for me, tackling the mentorship, laying down those foundations is probably that goal, and then just right now we're just getting ready for Chinese New Year.
Well, Penelope, thanks so much for joining me on Arts Breakfast.
Thank you.
Penelope Shum, dancer and founder of the Soul Council. If you'd like to get involved with the group, head to their Facebook page and send Penelope a message, and check them out performing at Chinese New Year festivities on Guja Street next Saturday. Their set should be around 9:20 p.m.